Well, the Latinx media consumers in the United States is the growing faster consumers because it's a growing faster minority in the US. And because not only we are growing as a community, we love consuming media and using digital platforms. So those two combinations of, growing minority in the United States, plus the fact that also is a community is quite young. I mean, the average age is between 20 to 30 years old. So that age consume quite a lot of digital media. So those two combinations make the Latinx community and the Latinx media consumers very attractive to any company who want to, sell a product to us, to the Latinx in the United States. So it's a very fascinating subject because it's not also that easy. The issue is that they are trying, or they always have been trying to put all of us in the same space, when in fact the Latinx media consumer in the United States have many subcultures because we come from many different places, right? People from Peru, from Bolivia, from Venezuela, from Mexico. So not because we just speak Spanish doesn't mean that we all like the same things. And like I was explaining in my presentation early, the beauty of digital media is that now is allowing to be more specific and target a more specific subculture of the Latinx media in the United States. Because now you can actually produce different concepts and different programming for Peruvians or for people from Brazil. That is a good thing, because now you are not making us feel that, okay, just because I'm a Latino and because I speak Spanish, that means that I like soap operas or that I like this type of TV show or radio. It's a very complicated puzzle, but it's a very fascinating at the same time. But what it makes us so attractive is very simple. It's the first minority, probably by year 20, I would say year 35, we become first majority, right? If we take also in consideration the second generation of Latinx that are American, born in this country, but they identify themselves as a Latinx members. And then you have the fact that we consume ton of media and we are fascinated with technology. When you put those two things together, of course, it makes it very interesting and attractive for any company to try to reach the Latinx. The representation of Latinx characters in media in the US currently have changed in a very positive way, right? I think not that we need to still doing a lot of work, but I do think because, again, this idea that we can actually now create so many different shows allow the writer and the companies to start creating characters that feel more us, and they are not necessarily in the stereotypical concept of what a Latino is. I think, again, is at this point, I have seen shows, again, we were talking about George Lopez show, and we're talking about I Love Victor, and somebody was mentioning earlier another show that doesn't jump my mind right now, but where is a representation of what Latinos really are. And I was talking earlier about that. It's interesting because we want to be equal presented, but at the same time, we don't want to lose our identity. So that is a balance that I see now more, where I'm watching I Love Victor, not because Victor is Latino or because the family is a Latino family. I'm watching it because I'm connecting with the character, independent if it's Latino or not Latino. That is the beauty of it, and that's how it should be. Right? At the same time, you watch them, and yes, it's a lot of things that happen in the house, in the nuclear family environment that is very Latino. And that, I think it is changing in a positive way for sure. Well, the role of the entertainment industry in creating a visual media to show a more diverse, a more inclusive, a sense of belonging is extremely important. But not only inside the actual entertainment industry and entertainment media, right? It's about we population consume media more or less 24 hours at this point, and what we watch matter. What is out there matter. Unfortunately, and again, we don't need to talk about politics, we're not talking about news, but it's so much out there, and it's so much that we don't even understand what is it trying to tell us, that we get quite confused. It's almost like we need to put a stop, which is not going to happen. I know that will be very naive of my part, and try to clean the house. What is important for me to show and for me to absorb, right? Sometimes I see myself in my own social media, whatever it is, TikTok and Instagram, and I was like, why am I following this person? And what I'm really learning from this person? And so you have to, in some point, say, you know what? I need to take the time to really clear what I really feel is important to me. And because that amount of information that we are consuming, the representation and the idea of diversity and the idea of a more inclusive, yes, it's there. Now everybody, a person in I don't know, in California can become a spokesperson for the Latinx community through TikTok. And that is awesome. That is actually really, really good. But at the same time, it's opened the door to misrepresentation of who we are. So it's a tricky combination, but the entertainment industry is there first at all to entertain us, right? That is why we watch TV, that's why we go to social media, that's where we listen to a good podcast, is to be entertained. But we forget two important things of the equation, and that's where, for me, through my podcast in From Suarez Basement, I go through three bases: entertain, educate, and inform. If one of these is less heavy than the other ones, I'm doing something wrong. I cannot entertain you only. I need to be sure that what I'm giving you has some value of information and education. If not, what is the point? I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting your time. I hear podcasts sometimes that I'm like, I don't get it. Like, this is only two people talking, right? So it's like, do I really want to spend 35 minutes just listening to people, chit-chatting and gossiping about this person? No, I really don't. So it's the responsibility to all of us that work behind any media, to understand the responsibility that you have. Doesn't matter how small it is, doesn't matter if it's a podcast that only is being listened by 10 people in North Dakota, or doesn't matter. You have to understand that you have a power to communicate with people that you don't know. That's the other thing. I mean, this is people that is behind a TV or behind a radio. So you don't know these people. But even with that, your responsibility is to know that what you're putting out there matter. And that you have to think about, do I entertain? Yes, it's cool to entertain. It's important. It's part of why we consume media. But it's also important to know that I need to balance that entertainment with an educational, informational aspect. It's extremely important that we understand that the entertainment industry, the communication industry, has a responsibility. And that responsibility is to create programming that create more diverse, more inclusive, and more sense of belonging to the people who is in the other side of the TV or is in the other side of the radio. Those don't, depend on the media. But think about the power that you have. We again, digitalization allows us to do whatever we want. So a lot of people take this such lightly that I don't think that is the right thing. I think it's important to understand that you have a responsibility with anybody who is actually engaging with you through that process of communication and media.